Okay, it looks like we are now live. Welcome everyone to yet another edition of the 4GwQPodcast podcast. This is episode number 192 for December 13th, 2018. Glad to have you guys with us this week. We're trying out some new software here. Hopefully it takes us to the next level. So, although YouTube still says that no one's watching, even though we're live, even though I know there's people in the chat, so. You guys, Clouds, are you seeing the stream right now?
I'm watching it.
So I would say one, right?
There we go. There we go. Okay. We're good. We're good. All right. So I am one of your hosts here in front of 217, as always. We also have a full cast of characters this week in our fourth chair this week. We got returning back to the podcast, one of the great friends of the show. Love this man. So happy he was able to come on. It's Beast Fire Tim Dog. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for the nice intro. All the respect to everyone here, especially you, Mike. You know, we go back. Just a great, respectable show that talks gaming the way gaming should be talked about. You know, a professional show. And all the respect in the world to everyone here and yourself. With TXR, we did that, and that was a lot of fun. But we were always cool with each other. So happy to be here, and everyone listening. This is a great show. Tune in. I'll be back again, but this is a legit old school type podcast.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And Tim is going to be back on TXR. We're having a little revival of TXR. I'll be there supporting, certainly in the chat, but I just don't have time to do podcasting, and it hurts my soul not to do it, because I know, I would love to do that show with you guys again, but just, time, I just would never be able to make it, and I'm surprised you guys are going to be able to make it,
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I'll tell you, it's a wait and see for me, because I have the same situation going on with you. You know, we talked about a pre-show. It's tough to just even game at times. You know, it's just as you get older and you're working and you got your wife, and if you have a kid, and and then everything takes up your time. I had a little free time there for a little, but now it's like I could see my time being dwindling up. I've been doing less and less podcasts, but we'll give it a try, see what happens. You know what I mean? It's going to be a later show. It's probably going to be the same type, West Coast style, podcast, that thing, and see how it goes. At the end of the day, when it first went, it was a pleasure just to work with people like yourself and Mark and Rand and everyone. But this time, I think it's going to be kind of like, if I miss a show, it's not the end of the world type thing. You know what I mean? I have a feeling that it'll be going, but it's going to be lax, and it was always for me was to get the interviews. So I just hope we do a lot of interviews. That's really what I like.
Yeah, man. That was the forte, I would say, of TXR, and we got a lot of good interviews, and I hope you guys are able to continue that, and I'll be pushing that content. I'll be retweeting and be there supporting you guys. Thanks. And hope all goes well on that.
Yes, thank you.
But yes, I don't have anything in the middle. I don't know why people are saying it's blank, but it should be kind of blank for right now. No pictures yet. We're just going through the intros right now, but if it's black screen, tell me. If it's not, then we're ready to roll. But all right, anyway, the rest of the cast is here, of course, making his 192nd straight appearance. We've got ZBCI Assassin. What's going on, man?
Oh.
Are you there? I kind of heard what's up.
Can you hear me?
There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. Last but not least, we've got Italian Clowns. What's going on, bud?
What's up, man?
Nothing much, dude. Nothing much, Just Ready to get this podcast started. Ready to talk about the topics this week. We'll get into the Game Awards a little bit. We'll get into some surprises that happened during that show. Some announcements. Great show for that. Some surprise announcements and such. But we'll get into the length of that show, the announcements, the winners, the surprises, all that kind of stuff. We'll get into, of course, what else? Nintendo Creators Program is going down. That's no longer going to be a thing, so we'll get into that. Of course, we'll be talking about Ashen, how well that's doing, and of course the controversy with the Epic's Game Store stealing that away from the Play It Anywhere program, and that game Ashen not launching on the Windows Store at launch like we expected. A few other topics here and there. We'll get into those, but let's just begin, right? Let's get into the first one, the Game Awards. The Game Awards, I think Nintendo had a pretty huge presence on the ads, not so much in the winners, but a lot of ads. Nintendo was very present. We had a few impressive world premieres. Of course, Red Dead Redemption 2 cleaned up quite a bit. But, surprise, surprise, God of War won Game of the Year, even though a lot of people right from the get-go expected Red Dead to just win it because they kept winning a lot of the early awards. But yeah, they didn't win. God of War was able to pull it out. So Tim, what did you happen to think of the Game Awards? Did you think that it was good? Did you think it was too long? What were your thoughts on some of the winners, some of the reveals? Give us your thoughts on pretty much everything.
Overall, I felt that it was too long, too much music, but I felt like the overall review of the show, I would give it would be high. I think it was good. Personally, I lose my mind after like 2.5 hours on any kind of show. Just like it's just you start to get irritated because you put so much. At least I do. I'm like into it, and then after 2.5 hours, you kind of like, eh. But I felt it was a little long. But overall, I feel like it's really made huge strides. I mean, they doubled their viewership from 13 million to 26 million, which is a big deal. And there were times where I would say that I didn't realize that I wouldn't realize that they were the end-all, be-all of Game Awards. Like if somebody says they win the Game Award, it could be from a different place. But I do feel like they have gotten that under the belt, where if they say it's Game of the Year or they say it's considered Game of the Year. So I think that Jeff he's in a new stage where his next couple of Game Awards are going to really start to grow. So I feel the growth overall on that. Everything was good, just a little too long, but it is what it is. As far as the Game Awards, like you said, everything was Red Dead. So it was like when they did the director, I'm like, this is going to be a shutout. And then they said the God of War, and I was just like, oh, they got a little bit of a chance here. And when they won it, I was kind of like, wow, I'm surprised. I did not see that happening, but it's like, for a Sony fan and the diehard, it was their ultimate dream. It happened, and you can only just at that point just give respect, because it really has to. I haven't played it, but it has to be that good of a game to beat. Which I'm playing Red Dead. I'm almost done, but it's a tremendous game. But for it to beat that was really surprising. On the Xbox side, you said Switch. Very good points. Very, very omnipresent, I guess, all over the place. They had some reveals too. I think they got would they get exclusive? Something exclusive.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance, actually. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, those games did exceptionally well on the 360 and the PlayStation 3. They got that. The third iteration of that game's coming exclusive to them, which is, I think, a pretty big get for a third-party exclusive for them.
Yes, it was. I thought that was pretty big. For Xbox, they had the Atlas. I thought, even though a lot of people might have glossed over that, but that Atlas game, I think, is going to be pretty Arc 2 type deal. I get the vibe from there. It looks like, it looks like SOT on steroids. It looks crazy. So I'm looking forward to that. And Xbox had the exclusive DMC, and Phil talked saying that he could have a better year. So overall, I felt the show was great, and from somebody who used to hate the show, they've turned me around to where, I hope Xbox gets some of those big awards, because it must have been nice to win for the Sony fan, because they wanted that in the worst way, and they got it. And I didn't think it was happening. Like you said it best. It was just like, you just figured. It was just like, usually you get the feel for game awards, or just even movie awards. Something was going to sweep, and then it didn't, and then it was just like, wow. So
yeah, I
pretty
think that's kind of how Clowns was feeling, right? I mean, Clowns, I remember you said that early on in the show when you were watching it initially and Red Dead kept winning, you were like, all right, I'm going to bed. Obviously Red Dead is gonna sweep all the categories, but then, like Tim said, the Sony guys got their game, they got their award, and it was a big, God of War took a huge risk, changing up the game and the formula the way they did, making a game in that way, and obviously, it worked out really well for them. Broke all kinds of sales records. Obviously winning Game of the Year. So Clowns, are you kind of surprised that God of War won, or was that the biggest surprise for you, or was there another surprise during the show?
I think God of War is an excellent game from what I've seen. I bought it, but I never played it yet. I just haven't had time. I'm just glad Red Dead didn't win, because I felt like Red Dead was going to take the whole. That was kind of ridiculous. Like, how could they be nominated for so many categories and just keep walking away with stuff? It kind of makes watching this kind of stuff, a little bit frustrating, a little bit pointless, because sometimes you want like an indie gem to win one category or something else for musical score. I mean, it's, what I mean? So God of War taking the Game of the Year I felt that was a good thing.
Absolutely. And if you ask somebody like our man Assassin over here, who played both of the games, right? Assassin, you think that God of War, was good. You played the hell out of it. You obviously beat Red Dead. You did that on stream for most of that playthrough. So as one of the people here that actually, played through both to completion, would you say that the rightful winner won?
Oh my God, yeah. God of War, I think, deserved more awards than it received. It actually took best music. Definitely not won that. It also proved that when they had that music thing with Red Dead music, which was just god awful, terrible music. That just proves they should have just grabbed the award away after they start singing that music. I mean, the people did good. I just want to point that out, because people are like, "Oh, you're hating on the people." People did good. Music sucked. So they should have took away the award and be like, "Here, God of War." Yeah. And then some of the reveals I thought were nice, but I felt like there were many not good ones. Like ones that you see and then you forget like in an hour. Like there's a lot of those that we got to see, like the Crash Bandicoot, so then I can kick you guys' butt in June when that comes out. Just dropping those facts on you guys, and
that's not gonna be happening. Dude, you talk a big game. You haven't even gotten a Switch yet. All these multiplayer races and stuff. All these Mario
You win
games.
all of them.
Yeah, dude, he's trying to come at me about that, Tim. I mean, he should know better. He should know better.
I've seen you win it. I've seen you win twice, I think.
I gotta grab this bad boy over here. Hold on, let me just bring my picture up so I can show this thing right here. This beautiful trophy that I run.
Forza's one thing, Crash and Mario Kart is a completely other category here. It takes skill to win Crash, which I have. It doesn't take skill to win Forza.
Oh, okay, Assassin. Okay.
Oh man.
But I think that's a challenge for Daz's the Forza Club. I think Assassin's saying he could beat anybody's time.
That's not. I'm not going to continue that sentence to hate on it, but
Daz, UK Daz.
I don't want to embarrass anyone. Let me just put it that way.
That's fired. You heard it on a Four Guys First. Assassin beats anybody at Forza.
UK Dazzers has something to say about that. He's oftentimes the leader in the Forza club that we have on Xbox. He races pretty well, you know. Got to take some of those assists off, but I'll give it to him. He races some clean racing. But what did you guys think about some of the cringeworthy things that happened at the event show? I mean, obviously, you know, it was a little long, but you know, a lot of that did have reveals. A lot of that did have you know, the awards. It wasn't a lot of fluff like we've seen in the past shows, you know, with that Razor shtick man and all that bullshit, right? But you know, there were some cringeworthy occurrences, and I can reference one, and that would be, you know, the esports winner of the year there, that Fox, what's his name? I mean, when he went up there and accepted that thing, I was just like, man, this is cringeworthy, and I could just imagine how many people like turned it off during that. And you know, it was such a classy event until, you know, that happened. And you know, even Ninja dressed up nice and classy, and it panned to his wife. She was dressed really nice. You know, this guy gets on stage, he goes in the flow outfit and everything.
Yeah, and talked with it on for like 2 minutes until he took his head off. I'm like, this guy's not really gonna talk with this on his thing and and he still had it on. I was like, oh, he accepted it, and then he took it off, and then he went into what you're gonna probably go into, whatever you're saying.
Oh man, well, I mean, I don't want to get all political on this show right now, but I mean, he had to go there. Yeah, he had to go there, and you know, when I'm watching a game show, like, you know, not that I'm trying to like shut out the world, but at the same time, you know, I'm trying to, you know, enjoy this. You know, he had this guy's speech about an award that he won about the gaming aspect, and I feel like a lot of his speech was so off base, and like, you know, it was so long, and you know, if you want to throw in a quick jab here and there, you know, like Downer does on Twitter, you know, go ahead and throw that in really quick, but like, you know, don't go on and on and on and on. You know, it's not like a multi-tweet thing. You know, get your 140 characters out at 280 now, and you know, be done with it, and, you know, make your statement. But I mean, that was
his whole thing was like, even the story, he talks about his friend in the story about, and he doesn't even connect the story to what he was talking about. Like, he was totally he was totally crazy. You're right. I looking back at it, like when he said what he said, at the time I wasn't like bothered by it. I just was like, ah. But as time went on, I've seen a lot of people like they really didn't appreciate it, and I can understand why. And you know, I don't really know why that needs to be said. You know, why bring it up? That's your personal business. You could, if you wanted to say it, you could have said it a lot more elegant way. You know, when you're bringing up furries, it's just, you know, it's over. You know, basically that's what it's just, you know, you lost the plot at that point.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. Assassin, I know you were watching it with me, and we, you know, watched that together. Did you think that was the cringiest moment? I know you kind of weren't a huge fan of, you know, some of the musical performances, and I know you thought some of those were cringy, but would you say that this moment was kind of like the cringe of the night?
I think if he, like you guys said, like his speech went way too long. If it was like cut in half, like I'm super happy, but he should have like prepared. He knew he was going to be nominated. Like I felt like, you know, Ninja or maybe some of the other, I think God of War that were up there when they took Game of the Year. Like they had like notes and stuff. Like I feel like he should have prepared for an event like that. If it was some like he just won championship, like whatever. But go say what you want. But I feel like you need to, just have some speech and make it short and to the point. And he took way too long.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, it threw me off so much, man. Like it just threw me off. It put me in a whole different mind space, and I can't like. I couldn't get past that towards the later half of the show. Like, obviously, they save, the biggest awards for last, but at the beginning of the show, I was totally feeling this thing. I thought it was really professional. I was like, wow, compared to past years, this is like a really professional, legitimizing thing for the gaming industry, I think. Everyone knocks like Jeff Keighley, he, hums Sony's sack and all this, whatever you want to say, right? But, I thought that, right from the get-go to have, the three bigs from, the different consoles.
It was nice.
That was a nice moment at the beginning. And then, it took a really serious tone, and then you got this. You know what I mean? And no disrespect whatsoever about the persona, but like, there's a time and place for that. And it's just like, it's crazy. Indie Gamer, by the way, in the YouTube chat, he says he thinks it's actually the award organizers' fault for not, lassoing him in. That they should have probably done something.
They should have. Yeah, they should have. I agree. Because it was. If you listen to the speech, listen to the first part of his speech. He tries to talk about somebody that told him that like he saved his life. I don't remember the exact gist of the story, but the story was like. It was like broken and it didn't even have a point, and it was just it went back to him just talking about himself. Like, I don't know. I definitely think that when the game shows seem to always have these moments. They have one spot where everyone remembers. Where like last year, remember was that guy that went crazy?
Yeah, right. But that happened right at the beginning. They had him back on too, though.
Yeah, they did. He was much calmer. But yeah, that was a moment that, like I said, I feel that if people want to criticize that, I think it's fair, to be honest. Because, like I said, I don't know. I'm all for everyone being open about stuff, and that's fine. But there's also a time where, just as a person, as a human being, you don't have to bring that stuff up, and especially to that extent. It's just like at that point, you're glorifying you're going the wrong route. If you wanted to make a point, you could have done it in a lot more classier way than that, and then that was just over the top. I'm reiterating what I said before, but
no, I mean it's true. The nice thing about it though is that the past award shows have been, I feel, so bad in terms of having anything of value to watch other than the winners. I said it before, but I'll say it again. How ad heavy they were, maybe to generate revenue that they didn't have at a prior point. But this year, like Outer Worlds, like that was a huge announcement. Obviously, they had some big hitting news that I did not expect them to bring at a show like this, especially looking at past years. And it's like, it makes me want to come back and watch it next year. I mean, you guys agree with that? That this time it was so much better than last year. It if they shorten it up a little bit, it makes you want to come back and watch next year's show.
100%.
I don't know if I don't want to watch next year's show. I mean, I hope that there would be more, I mean, different winners, than these major studios. Like, I'd like to see more winners, less esports stuff. If somebody wants to do a talk about promoting, able gaming stuff, that's really cool. Like that, the furry guy, I thought he took of a time on stage. I mean, like, I think he's a good guy, don't get me wrong, and it's great that he's got his own things that he's involved in, and everybody's different, everybody likes their own stuff, and I support him 100%, but I just think that he was not prepared for this. I think he was way overexcited, and he couldn't keep himself together, and maybe, in the future, get some cards or something that you could read, so you keep down to like 3 index cards and get off stage so other people can get up there.
Yeah, he could have been. He was very excited. I don't think he one of those things. I like Aaron, when Forza Horizon came up, I thought he didn't like. I guess they don't know beforehand, because he didn't seem like he knew he was going to win. He was just like, oh, he made a speech, which he did really good, I thought.
Absolutely.
But he looked surprised, as who, like, the camera went right on him. He was like, oh, that's the way I felt. So I don't think these people know. Like, I don't think at any award show, but I think you might get an idea. But they have seemed to gotten people to really not know. So that's a good part of the show too. They had some surprises there. Overall, though, like you said, it makes you want to watch it again, and it's just going to gain more steam. If it was going to fail, it would have failed, probably the last show or the show before that.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten pretty pretty big. It's gonna be bigger and bigger, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So, Ashen, you get the last word on this, man. Game Awards, is it going to bring you back next year? Was there enough? Were you impressed with essentially enough of this show to get your interest again, or are you too annoyed with some of the musical numbers and some of the some of the length issues and that kind of stuff?
I'll come back next year. I just hope they cut it down, at least chop off an hour, because I feel like with these events, these stupid music events are just going to always stay. Bethesda had them. The Game Awards have them. It's pointless and filler, but
yeah, I mean, it's not like the stuff wasn't quality. It's not like it was trash. Like, remember back at E3, I say a few years ago, but it was probably close to like half a decade. It was probably like a decade ago at this point, almost. When they had like Wii Music on stage, and you had Miyamoto and like all those other people like fake swinging around their nunchucks and stuff like that with the Wii, and it was such a mess that the song they played was like trash, and they were so proud of the fact that like with Wii Music you can actually play instruments and whatever. Like, that was cringeworthy. But the musical numbers, I thought were definitely quality, but I don't know if they belong in a show like this, as much as they did. And I think maybe cut a few of those out and you're right at like the sweet spot for time. But UK Dazzler says, if I want to watch music, I'll go to the opera.
Yeah, that's they did the thing that was at the Sony did it. Remember when Sony had the concert at E3? They kind of try to do that. I thought they had some good music, but some of the music was just like really bad. I was like, oh, this is horrible. I'd turn it off.
Yeah. But
had
go ahead.
Growing Up lady from Sony's conference a few years ago at every show. I think it lightened up everyone.
The what lady?
Growing Up lady. I forget what she was doing, but it was at the beginning of Sony's conference like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, we need her back.
I don't remember that. I'm gonna have to reference that after the show. But yeah, I mean, there's been, I mean, every award show, every conference has its cringeworthy moments, and this one didn't disappoint. But at the end of the day, I thought they improved it a ton over past shows, and I think they released the numbers, and I think viewership was up like double or something crazy like that. I don't remember the number. Yeah.
26 million, up from 13 viewership. Pretty sure that's the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, 26 million, that's a big deal. I know it was streaming on a lot of platforms, and I know that probably helped it, but nonetheless, I think that's a huge deal. And I mean, I feel like it's just going to go up from there, because by the time next year comes, who knows, maybe like there'll be some sort of streaming app on the Switch, or like they'll just make it accessible. Maybe it'll be on TV again, who knows. But Anyway, all right, enough about that. Let's move on to another topic this week that I think is a big one and actually was referenced and I guess kind of like pseudo announced at the Game Awards show. I mean, everyone pretty much knew that this game was coming, and I think the date had snuck out before the award show. So Ashen launched last week.
Oh my god!
Right after our podcast, it came out. It's on PC and Xbox One. On PC, it's actually exclusive right now to the Epic's Game Store. Not on the Windows Store as we had been promised by the Play Anywhere program. Now I feel like we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to just talk about the game really quick and kind of like the reception that it's been getting, and whether or not we're surprised about that, because this game has seen a lot of delays. This game was first announced, back in 2015. It didn't seem like there was too much to it back then to have been delayed for so long. Not to take legitimacy away from, development and how difficult that is, but, there isn't really multiplayer, quote unquote. I mean, there's a little bit, you can drop in co-op and you can't even like invite your friends. Essentially, you just like invade somebody else's game, if you will, and you run along with them. It's almost impossible to know. It doesn't like pop their gamer tag up or anything like that. But so multiplayer aspects that usually, lead to long development times, that's gone. That wasn't there. So, you had like a Dark Souls-ish like game that had a very simple color palette, very simple artistic style that, they beefed up over time, with the Xbox One X announcement, 4K assets and all that kind of thing. But the reception's been good. I mean, way better than I expected. We played it at E3 and I didn't think it was that great, but I'm not a huge Dark Souls fan, but Klaus, what were you
Dark
say
Souls for kindergartners, man. Journalists love it because it's an easy version of Dark Souls for them. This game, it looks like it came out of a Crayola box. They couldn't even put like faces on the people. And it's super easy compared to like the real Dark Souls. They just, they make certain scenes sound like Dark Souls. But it's really for kindergartners, like give it to a 5-year-old. They're going to enjoy this game. They're going to love it. They're going to be like, ooh, shiny colors. Ooh, I can imagine my own face.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think the art style is going to turn a lot of people off. I think people who are used to these kinds of games, they're used to Bloodborne, they're used to Dark Souls, they're used to, dark, dingy, like not environments that you like necessarily lust over, or like not lust, but fawn over, if you will. Some games you walk around the open world and you're kind of like, wow, this environment is really beautiful. I don't think Ashen's really a game like that. And the detail isn't necessarily anywhere close to what you'd expect from like Dark Souls or Bloodborne or anything like that. But from what I'm hearing though, Clouds, a lot of people are really liking it, even Dark Souls fans. So
yeah, but their opinions is like journalists and kindergartners. No offense, sorry guys, I hate to say that, but I mean it's true. This game is like for kindergartners, and you know what? The developers lie just like people do to kindergartners about certain people or events or not their feelings. So they told us it was going to be Play Anywhere day one, and guess what? It's not. They lied. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of Bush League. I mean, I didn't want to get into that necessarily right now, but I mean, if you look at the ads for the Play Anywhere up until even after the launch of the game, it was still on the Play Anywhere list. I mean, I recall very well going on Twitter, after this thing was announced to be, timed exclusive or whatnot to the Epic's Game Store, which is brand new, by the way. It's not like Steam that's been established for years and is the leader. It's a brand new platform that stole this away from the Microsoft Store, presumably over money. And I remember going on Twitter and seeing Jez on there from Windows Central, great guy, part of the Xbox 2 podcast as well. He was outraged. He was like looking for answers. He was telling people he was going to contact the publisher, the developer, A44. He's going to contact whoever he could to get down to business here and figure out why this was removed from Play Anywhere, because a lot of people saw that as a huge selling feature. And, the answer he essentially got is that, just too bad, so sad, really, that it's on Epic's Game Store. There's no date on when it's coming to the Windows Store as part of the Play Anywhere program. And then, a couple of days after that, it was removed from the Play Anywhere site. So, I mean, Tim, you got to admit that, you're the biggest Xbox lover. You bleed green, man. But you got to admit that was kind of Bush League.
Well, I mean, they don't own 444 Aurora, so I think that's the dev, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel that it was something that was kind of shady on their part because they had an agreement and they took it off the table. If this was, Epic can get away with a lot. If Microsoft tried to pull something, they would be, we'd have our pitchforks out, right? And it wouldn't be such a big deal. It would be a big deal, at least I kind of feel that it would be. But being that they stole it from the Windows Store, and everyone seems to hate the Windows Store, it was okay. It wasn't like there wasn't pushback on it. I mean, yeah, it's screwed up, and it's not cool, especially when people were looking at it and expected it to be a Play Anywhere, and it's definitely pretty shitty. But who's at fault? I don't know. I don't know if I'm in an agreement or I'm a developer and I say, you know what, screw Microsoft, they suck. Windows Store 10 sucks. The store sucks. I'm just gonna leave. Then that's really on the dev. And Microsoft probably at that point. I don't know. I mean, they're caught in between a rock and a hard place because. And it's self-inflicted because the Windows 10 store is still a disaster from what I hear. Now, I'm not a PC gamer, but when you have Phil coming at Gamescom saying we're going to fix it and do, what's the problem? I mean, the Windows integration with it is horrendous. It is nothing. I've played around with it a little bit. It's something that we look at Discord and this is just draw a parallel, but we mentioned the show. We said, wow, this is really good, and used to do your shows on Skype, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And they lost you to Discord because for whatever reason, the complacency or just and I know some people over there that are good people. It's just that they cannot get the freaking store good, and when you can't get the store to a point where it's respected, things like this might happen. And the Microsoft Play Anywhere program at this point. I don't think it's doing as well as they anticipated. You get like when Resident Evil 7 came out, that was Play Anywhere. That was really cool. That was a third-party developer. They haven't had a big game like that do that again.
Mm-hmm.
So the store's a disaster. What happened was not good for fans. It definitely, was screwed up. But and also Epic they're a real deal. So their store, I haven't messed with it, but I'm considering that I'm probably gonna look at this store and see what it's about. It's probably done well, and just for Microsoft to be in its position where it is with Windows Store is to me it's just it doesn't really concern me because I'm a console guy, but
Right.
it makes me shake my head because I remember. When this all first came out, where it was 2017, I was just like, give them time, and I'm pretty fair with that. It's just give them time. Well, they had time, and the store took steps back, or whatever, and it's still not accepted. You can't do certain things that you can with Steam, and I'm sure Epic is going to be more advanced in that aspect too. It's too locked down, from what I've gathered, from what I've heard.
Yep.
And it's just not PC friendly. And when you're in that, and it's not user friendly even for a guy like me who's just a console gamer that knows how to use a computer, obviously. But it should be. I knock on my Xbox app and I see my PC and I click a PC icon and there's everything on the PC that I can download and push, and I can do multiple downloads and can see everything. When I played with it at one time, it was just horrific. The downloading, I didn't know if it was downloading. Then you lose it and you can't find it. It's just,
Yep.
it's just not, So for me, on that, a little long-winded, but that's the way I feel completely. And it's twofold. Microsoft's got to get their store fixed, and Ashen just might be just their hard asses. Maybe they were just like, screw it. And that wasn't, I don't think was cool, but it is business.
Yeah, and it's kind of honestly when I saw that, I thought it was kind of ballsy of them. Who are they really to, if it is them at fault and Microsoft didn't make, didn't cross their T's and dot their I's appropriately to get this thing under a firm contract. If it is actually on on Aurora 44 and on Annapurna, the publisher, if it's on them for backing out of this deal and going with Epic, shame on them, dude. Because honestly, if it weren't for Microsoft pushing this thing at the conferences, Tim, at E3, they're pushing this hard, play Ashen, at the private events and stuff. They were pushing it hard, and they're really the ones responsible for getting that into the mind share of gamers, because otherwise, they didn't. I guarantee you, they didn't have the marketing dollars to push it, or the stage, like Microsoft did at E3 or at other conventions to push the game. And now you're going with Epic because of what? Because the store, or you're going with Epic as a time exclusive because they offered you more money, or because the Microsoft store is difficult to use. Like, sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and just go with who made you who you were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. You make very solid points. It's just an unfortunate situation, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's one that makes you shake your head. And Microsoft was, like you said, pushing it, and we were playing it. And, I remember being at E3 playing it, and, it was supposedly going to be UWP. But
yeah.
I guess, as these developers, I guess I don't know how. I guess that's why they're quiet all the time, because they go different ways. It was supposed to be something and it wasn't.
Yeah. Claude, you want to get in on this really quick?
Yeah, I also want to say, for them dissing the Windows Store for Epic Store, okay, maybe Epic paid, some money or something to help these guys out. Maybe they were starving and on the last slice of pizza and coffee, for McDonald's. But it's not that great either. There's a lot of people complaining about the Epic Store too. The Windows Store isn't great by any means whatsoever. However, I do like to play anywhere because the Moonlight SDK kind of supports a lot of it. But it isn't great. It's got some issues of its own, and people were complaining, and so I don't know, man. Is it because the Windows Store isn't great, or is it because Epic just had a boatload of cash and they're like, money? Look at this money float down from the sky. Come over here. Thing happened.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second, because I actually have a topic kind of dedicated to the, the not resurgence, because they came out of nowhere really, but the upheaval, the quick rise of Epic as not only as a company with Fortnite, not only as a respectable publisher and developer, and not only as a respectable maker of its own clients, but also because it's pulling games away from the giants like Steam and like GOG and like Windows Store and stuff like that. It's pulling those instantly, and we'll get into that in just a second. But before we do, let me get Assassin on this, because he's been kind of quiet. I know, Assassin, you really don't care about the whole it's pull from play anywhere thing, but in terms of the reception of the game, were you kind of surprised about it, or is this kind of what you were expecting, or is this something that you're looking to get into playing? Because it is like a 20 to 25 hour experience. It's no slouch in the experience department, and I know you're a huge fan of Dark Souls games, so is this kind of a pleasant surprise for you that it's doing this well?
So I played it while I was waiting for the Forza DLC to come out. I'm not like a huge fan of it. Like, I didn't put much time into it. I should probably put it more into it. Here for, I guess, in quotes, Dark Souls ripoffs, because like with Forza, like you play something else. Like, let's just go with Forza. Like Forza, like to me and probably some people, is like a really great racing game, and you go to the crew. Crap. I feel like it's like that for games like this. So like Dark Souls, like I enjoy Dark Souls a lot. And then you go to like some like Ashen or escaping me, but like Lords of the Fallen, those devs, they made another game. I can't think of it, but those just aren't like fun. Like I don't know, it's just something about it. Like the quality of Dark Souls games is just so much better than this other ripoff, as I like to call them.
Well, I mean,
I just don't find it interesting.
it's like the problem is that Dark Souls came before this, right? Because if this came before Dark Souls, it would be a completely different story. Because as things like go up in complexity, you expect the sequels or you expect the things that come after it in the same genre to go up in complexity, not go down in complexity. And when it doesn't have this, you can't help. It doesn't have this or that. It doesn't have the same kind of progression pathways, for upgrade skills or like, as many RPG elements necessarily, as Dark Souls or the like has. You expect those things to be present in a game that comes after, and obviously, this is like an indie dev. It's not. This isn't like a AAA studio, so they got to start somewhere, and kudos to them for that. But I've always wanted, to talk to Dark Souls people and find out, like, what is it about this game, if it's not nearly as complex, that turns you onto it,
I played the game. I played like 5 minutes, and I'm like, follow me around, help me kill people. Maybe they're long lost lovers, and he loves them or something, or her. I can't tell if it's a guy or a girl. There's no faces. Just a floating mustache. It just looks like Play-Doh.
Oh man, you're brutal. I mean, listen, graphics aren't the strong suit. Gameplay is supposed to be the strong suit. Oh, my dog is barking.
Well, what if the game had really good graphics? Would it be really respected? Because it seems to have gotten pretty good high reviews from certain sites that usually don't give out big scores like that.
Tim, I have a conspiracy theory, and you're probably going to disagree with me, as well as most of the internet's going to disagree with me. But maybe it's because they're happy it didn't come to play anywhere.
I remember one thing about this. I remember BGST when he went completely Sony side. He was showing God of War graphics up against the Ashen face, and he's like, "Look at this! This is what the power gets you." And it just sticks in my head, and I was just like, "Oh, yeah, you can't compare this. Just that hollow face, But yeah, I do think that if this game kind of improved its graphics, or an Ashen 2, that it could. It looks like it's doing well, but it may be more appealing to me. I mean, it looks cool, but people might like that style. But I just feel like they could definitely do better with graphics on it, in my opinion. But I'm a graphics type first guy, so
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that.
Yeah, and to be honest, playing the demo at E3 and at PAX a couple times, it didn't do it any favors in terms of graphics. I mean, it was obviously a very simple art style, and the game was sharp enough, but at the same time, like I said, and it kind of relates that once you have the apple pie, if you're given the apple Pop-Tart, it's not quite as satisfying, even though that apple Pop-Tart may be delicious, really, really good, and refreshingly, different tasting. Once you have that complex, like apple crumb cake or whatever, like what you're missing, and what can be made of something like this, and you feel like, wow, this kind of shortchanges it here, there, or whatever. But we definitely have to we have to get into more of the game. I feel like I haven't played it enough, and I feel like these guys haven't played it enough
A
necessarily.
lot of people liked it. A lot of people look like GameSpot gave it a 9.0.
Dude, 90. Wow. IGN gave it an 85. The reviews are coming in. The meta's in the mid 80s. So I mean, that is a success for sure.
That was unsuspected. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Oh, absolutely not.
But it goes to show you that you don't always need graphics too. I mean, if everything else is there, people could like the game.
Yeah. I know some guys in the YouTube chat are trying to call out Saltiest Gaming, who is currently in lurk mode, because we've been trashing the hell out of Ashen. He put out a review, probably one of the earlier reviews I saw from a community member. He, put his 25 hours in. He's dying to play it again. He really loved the game, being a huge Dark Souls player, and he made some good points in his review. I mean, you got to take it, you got to take it for face value sometimes, but if you can get into the story, man, you can get into that gameplay loop, and it has a few different things that you'd like, coming from Dark Souls. I think you'll be really into it. But if you're going in expecting, a Dark Souls clone through and through in a different setting, you're gonna be disappointed.
I think when they went to the drawing board for this game, they were sitting in the studio and they're like, I really like Dark Souls. Yeah, me too. Let's make a Dark Souls game. Oh crap, we can't code graphics like that. What are we gonna do? Let's go back to kindergarten drawings and figure this out. We got this.
Hey, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough releasing a game in this day and age, especially as an indie dev, when you have, these AAA, big studios getting, so complex with what they're able to offer. And, you look at games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey that has just like, hours and hours of gameplay. You look at like Red Dead Redemption 2, I know a lot of people who didn't think Red Dead Redemption 2 would be able to top necessarily Red Dead Redemption 1 in terms of how good it was and the story being so immersive or whatever. And it did just that. It's tough going against some of these guys. And, with a price tag of $40, it does put it in that upper echelon territory. Maybe if it was $20, some people would forgive it for some of this stuff. But, for a $40 game, now you're getting into AAA territory for pricing, especially with some of the price drops you've been getting on new releases. I mean, look at Battlefield 5 dropped to $30 immediately almost. So, it's tough. You gotta strategize properly, and I think Microsoft, try to help them out, and maybe you're right, Tim, or I mean, you don't know necessarily, but that was a good suggestion, saying maybe it's on the dev, maybe it's on the pub, maybe Microsoft, their hands were tied, and they, this was happening behind closed doors or whatever. So,
I mean, that's what I don't know if that's the case. I haven't asked about it.
Right.
It kind of, when I saw it, did annoy me, but I've been so busy that I was just like, whatever. I'm not gonna fight this thing,
Yeah.
But it was annoying. Like I said, they pushed it, so something must have happened. But it's one of those things that you'll never find out. It's closed doors, type deal.
Yeah.
I hope it does come at least to be. Can they make it play anywhere after the fact? I don't think so.
Yeah, no. I mean, according to Jez in his article, he amended a couple times. He put in, as he got more information on Windows Central, he added that it is coming to Windows Store eventually. I mean, there is no date for it, but it is coming. And then when it does, they will add that Play Anywhere title, that tag to it.
I would be happy if that happens. To be honest.
Yeah.
As of now, I being that I'm not a Dark Soul fan, so I mean, I don't think I'm going to buy it. I'm looking really forward to Below.
Yeah.
I've been playing Red Dead constantly, so I'm kind of hoping I finish this game soon,
right?
And get to Below and some of the other. I want to see the Forza Horizon lights, the DLC just dropped.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? It's a business, and maybe Ashen just got scared. They said, look at how good we've done with this game, and we don't want it to fail. And gee, if I don't have it, if I could have it on the Epic Store, maybe people will give us a different kind of look because we'll be more featured, and it's new. And you know what? They just took they took it and they ran, and unfortunately, we're out here in the cold that we were told. But if they can amend it and they can put a Play Anywhere, for me that's better, because then I'll buy the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I do like the Play Anywhere, even though the Windows 10 store is not the best. And I have my PC just built, and I'm ready to dabble. I'm just hoping that that those games keep accumulating, because at the end of the day, when you own a game, two places. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
in my opinion, I've gotten used to it.
Yeah, it's so consumer friendly, and unfortunately, games like this pulling out of the program so suddenly and mysteriously almost, doesn't really do it any favors. And we'll get into the next topic about the Epic Game Store and what it has to offer, above and beyond what even Steam can offer. But it all stems down to what you kind of open this with, Tim, is that the Windows Store just got to keep up, man. I mean, the Windows stuff just has to keep up. And, especially, people like yourself, Tim, who identifies as a console gamer and always has, and even you have a rig to try to, get some high performance on some of these games. I mean, look at Ashen. Ashen's a 4K 30 frames per second game.
Yeah.
But on your PC, you're going to be, pushing 1 million frames. I know you built a nice PC for yourself. So
yeah, I got the i8-770K with RTX 2080. I wanted to get the TI,
Jesus.
but it was just
the price, dude. The price on that.
Here it is. The thing is that I'm gonna give it a shot, but the last experience I had with Resident Evil 7 and just the overall, like, just even freaking downloading a game, if it's gonna be tough, or it's gonna be something where, like I said, I lose it and then I don't like where it, like, it's not, and then I have to go back, and then it should be easy. It should be plug and play. It should be an icon that you click in the app. It shouldn't be the way it was set up. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to download some of these games, but I don't know what's going on there. They have to kind of streamline it. At least when I looked at it, like I said, I was so turned off. I was like, I even wrote an email to somebody and Microsoft, and and I was upset, and they because the thing wasn't working, the Play Anywhere, and they finally got it working. But I was just like, this is just, the store is not, why, if you're gonna make such an effort and you're gonna take games off console and you're gonna do that and you're gonna say all that, you gotta have the store fixed before anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I throw my hands up sometimes. If you're gonna be about it. So if that means that you're gonna have console games and you're also gonna have PC, you gotta have the PC end. Can't be, it can't be treated as a redheaded stepchild. And that's what happens with when they originally started with this games with Windows, whatever the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's always treated like a redheaded stepchild. It's like it's time to really get to get up to the point where it's comparable to these other storefronts. I mean, it can be done.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of just getting it done.
The resources, yeah. Real quick before we move on, some guys are defending how the art style is a lot different than Dark Souls, and not to necessarily expect everything to be a Dark Souls copy off. But Xbox makes a good point. Like, in the YouTube chat, he says, "Isn't it kind of people's fault for constantly saying Dark Souls when talking about Ashen? It's its own game." But gamers just do that, man. Gamers do that for everything. Like, look at even like Outer Worlds, right? At the Game Awards show, we were just talking about that earlier in the podcast. Like, that really impressed people that Obsidian can come out and put a trailer out like that, and then shortly after the show, I think maybe a day later, maybe not even a day later, they released some gameplay video. And what was everybody doing? What was everybody tweeting about when the thing was announced? It's like, Fallout meets Borderlands, Fallout, a true Fallout game, a true, this, that, whatever. They're comparing it to other things. I mean, that's what we do as gamers.
I think a lot of people in the chat don't really understand my anger behind this, and it's all driven by one simple thing, and I'll explain this real quick.
Yeah.
So I've been able to play Xbox Play Anywhere games on my Vita, on my phone, anywhere I go, even on my Switch if I wanted to. How am I doing this? With open source GeForce Now experience drivers. So if I would have had Ashen on Play Anywhere, I supported it, I would have been able to play this at home on my Vita while my wife watches the TV show, or I could have been playing it, while I'm walking my dog with the Vita in my hands, something. And that's really how I wanted to experience Ashen. I thought that would have been a great experience. And I felt really let down. And I'm a little salty about that. I'm a little angry. So everybody, please drop a little salt for me. Thank you.
You know what the graphics remind me of? Do you remember when they had, it's like a stick figure, and you could move the arms and the limbs. It was usually on it was a skeleton of it, and it had that flat face. I don't know if you guys can visualize what I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
that's what it reminds me of that figure. It was a stick figure,
Yeah.
and like you would move the limbs. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny because people say the Dark Souls, they don't want it, and they're completely right. But there also is stupid guys like me that, not really big Dark Soul guys, that just kind of want to see the colorful, enhanced graphics.
Yeah.
Because that's just how I am. I'm going to be completely honest. When I play games like 8-bit games, I just, I can't deal with it. Like, I remember people who were arguing in the early days, Titanfall, they were comparing Towerfall to it. I'm like, you're really kidding me with this. But that's just, everyone's different. Some people can really kind of find charm in different styles of graphics. But for me, I'm like I love cutting edge Gears type stuff.
Yeah.
Like what they did with Red Dead and these games. I just want to see the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, power has been the narrative for the past few years, and doesn't look like that's changing anytime soon. So, there is that contingency that will, appreciate the game for what it is. But I think, to do the numbers, you gotta have the power, you gotta have the realism. Unfortunately, because this is an art form after all. But some people just can't help themselves but go, goo goo and gaga or whatever for the greatest looking thing and the most realistic looking thing. All right, so let's move on to something we kind of already talked about a little bit about the Epic's Game Store coming out. Obviously, Epic's Game Store was touted very heavily during the Game Awards. Obviously, we were just talking about Ashen is at the Epic's Game Store right now, and they're going to be pulling games that were previously slated for Steam releases or GOG releases or whatever. They're going to be pulling some of those games over to the Epic's Game Store, and Epic is doing a lot of things. Two things in particular Epic is doing to attract people over that's really resonating with developers and publishers alike. One of them is, of course, money, because the standard with Steam is a 70-30 distribution where the developer or publisher gets 70% of the revenue and Steam gets 30%. So Steam has since come back and said that they're changing that, but the numbers are kind of unattainable for a lot of the smaller games. You have to do 10 million revenue before that revenue ratio changes, and then once you get to 50 million revenue, it changes again, and it changes to favor the developer and the publisher, not Steam. But at the same time, even the best ratio that Steam offers isn't close to the ratio that Epic Game Store offers. And that would be 88-12. So Epic's Game Store is only taking a 12% cut on games sold, and the developer and publisher gets 88%. I mean, that's a big deal, especially for smaller games. And for Ashen, for A44, for Annapurna, their publisher, money talks, right? I mean, we know that. So that's a big deal. That's a really big deal for Epic's Game Store. So that's one thing it has for going forward. Another thing is that they're making the cross-platform, dev tools and stuff that's been part of Fortnite. They're making that free to everyone who puts their game in the store. So if you want to bring your game over and you want to have cross-platform work as well as Fortnite does across all devices, you can count on that by going on the Epic's Game Store. So that's a big draw for a lot of people. So those two things are really why they're hitting the ground literally like going 5,000 miles an hour. Like they are really pushing hard because, no one wanted to take on Steam a couple of years ago. Steam was the giant.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Epic has come in and they've done well with Fortnite. They have some money to back this thing, and money talks, and they're attracting a lot of games over, and maybe even some AAAs. Maybe even like the next Call of Duty game will be on that instead of on like BattleNet, right? It's on BattleNet, not instead of Steam.
Yeah.
So so what did you guys think of that? I mean, I was kind of surprised that Epic Game Store was able to attract all these people, and then I read the fine details, and I was like, holy shit, they are really, really offering something that a lot of devs and publishers can't really refuse.
Well, I mean, that you might have answered the question why they went to the they spurned Windows 10. That was interesting information. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's. I think Epic is going to be a real deal this next gen. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with the cloud-based destruction because, as you know, they purchased CloudGen, and
Yep.
they are planning something with the cloud. As I don't know if you guys seen the Crackdown 3 stuff. If you've seen the French YouTubers playing it, they just showed a little thing. It might be short-lived, and it's in its infancy, but that stuff's really cool. Like the destruction, and I want to play a game down the line where I could blow up things and there's holes in the back of the player I'm trying to kill, and it's blowing up buildings. I mean, there's a lot of potential there. So I'm kind of rooting for Epic in that thing because I think that they'll get it right. With Microsoft, depending on how Crackdown 3 goes, I don't know how dedicated they are going to be to making another game with the Azure. This thing that they did with Crackdown 3, and I'm glad Epic's there to kind of show that they believe in the cloud, and we're gonna get something. So there's a little off base, but just overall, they sold Gears, and I think that got them a lot of money, and they just really they just freaking annihilated PUBG.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it was weird. PUBG was so big, and then they had that lawsuit where they kind of copied them. Well, they were going to do that thing because they saw the writing on the wall. The way Epic is pushing out as developers these updates, the small guy couldn't handle it. The small guy couldn't compete, and that's what happened. And it's unfortunate to some, but it's kind of if PUBG had a stable engine and didn't have as many, it could have maybe did it, but it got overtaken pretty quick. And Fortnite is just it is the Minecraft of this generation, or the new Minecraft. Even though Minecraft is still selling like crazy in China and stuff like that, in new areas, it's just. It just shows that they got some real deal developers and they got some real deal people behind them. So I think the store is going to do very well. I think it's going to give Steam competition and hopefully maybe gets Xbox. Because as you know, Xbox is like 2018. They spent probably more money on Xbox than they had since. They probably ever did. They spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
If we can get another year of that type of spending, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what Microsoft is doing. They could actually have the console, doing very well. They also have PC and its storefront doing very well. Obviously, if you put money behind it, you can do it and compete it. But as overall, I feel like the whole competitive thing that's going on against Steam and as like you said, people, I remember that. Like, Steam never going to be touched. Nobody's going to go after them.
Yep.
And here we are, and we're like, well, take Epic in this, and just to even be saying that means just to show you how much they already have solidified their name. They are something else, Epic, and I just get just impressive what they've done, the way they handled Fortnite. They're handling everything that's being thrown at them, and you know, it's pretty crazy that that's coming from. It's the company that made Gears, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
You know, that's what blows me. That's why I asked that, because sometimes I don't, you know, I'm thinking like this now is like a big tier company, which it is, but it's still the guys that made Gears, and that's just crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it is. It's nuts that, you know, how far they've come over, you know, over the years, and obviously they were one game away from coming back. I mean, obviously, you know, you think of Unreal Engine, you know, that's obviously an Epic thing. And, you know, a lot of companies were using that. They were collecting their royalties, you know, making money off that. But it goes to show you that, you know, after selling Gears, you know, after getting rid of that IP and kind of on the downswing a little bit, and then, you know, one big IP, one big juggernaut can, you know, bring them back to prominence and give them the kind of money and kind of headspace that they needed to, you know, potentially take on a giant, you know, to take on Goliath that is Steam, and you know, undercut them. And you know, that's how a lot of people do business. You know, you take the price and you undercut them, and that's how you try to beat somebody at their own game, right? And you know, Epic's doing that. Not only that, but they're also offering services like that, you know, the crossplay platform that they can offer, and the dev tools for that, to make sure that games that come on their platform are able to do things like that. I mean, that is a valuable asset. And you know, it goes beyond money, I think, a little bit. But Assassin, what do you think about this? But I know you're not a huge PC gamer as of yet until you get a new PC, but you think this is a big deal? You think Epic can pull it off? What are your thoughts about this?
I think if anyone could do it, Epic could probably do it. But they should add more security, I feel like, because every once in a while, I know a lot of people get this, but they'll get an email saying to log in a bunch of times into your account and failed. Please change your password, blah, blah, blah. You know, that type of thing. And get rid of it. You know, not rid of it. The email is nice knowing someone's trying to their security before they start claiming. Huge.
Oh yeah, I'm muted. Wow. Here I am talking. I'm completely muted.
I'm like, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I can't get out of here. 'Cause if I lose Discord,
Mout's Mout's moving. Nothing's coming out, right? But yeah, I mean, are they gonna be crazy secure like they are with their Epic's Games account? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, people do get upset with having to reset their password all the time due to breaches and stuff, but I think people do respect that, you know, their account is secure, and I think devs and publishers will respect that as well, and will, you know, who knows if that's seen as an asset, you know.
This, you know, there's one thing that Epic has done right, and it's the fact that their Fortnite game and allegedly some of their other games in their Epic store will support the GeForce Now experience. Therefore, I can play some of that on my Vita.
It all comes back to that, right?
That's what it comes back to. I want to be able to play anywhere I want to go.
Yeah. I mean, that is the future, right? When 5G comes, we're going to see a huge resurgence of mobile gaming, I think. I mean, obviously the Switch, you can do it now, but you kind of have to be tethered to Wi-Fi. But who knows? Maybe, you know, maybe like mobile chips and these things is going to be the future. And
I was able to play Sea of Thieves on my cell phone on 4G LTE data away from my house.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to send that much data over. That's pretty crazy. And actually, we got a comment in the chat that's kind of related to that. Xbot wants to know if we think that Epic and Steam and stuff are going to start streaming services to kind of make that process maybe a little bit easier.
Interesting question.
Kind of bundle in like streaming as in like, Mixer and
But you
Twitch, but
need
also
servers though. Like you need servers for streaming, right?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I
So
think I don't know if do you think Epic has? Well, they have their own Fortnite, right?
yeah, I mean they have they have the service for that. They have servers on the back end for like Unreal Engine and stuff for like testing out games and debugging and all that kind of stuff that they've had for years, but do they have, the same back end that's like Nvidia has or anything like that? Probably not.
Well, I think the video is interesting, but from what I'm hearing, this XCloud is going to be ridiculous.
Oh yeah, xCloud, the Azure servers,
Yeah.
that stuff like that. I mean, they probably don't have back
You're
end
going
like
to be
that.
able to. You're going to be. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're going to be
No.
able to buy a freaking game, and then 2 seconds later download it to your phone. And if you have a 5G phone, like we were talking with Inferno, forget it. You freaking if you're able to play Red Dead in 10 minutes, it's like it's pretty crazy stuff. But it's a very interesting question by Xbot. So it's a good question.
Yeah, I think that if people want to combine streaming like Twitch services, but also like Microsoft's doing with Mixer, they're obviously testing that technology on the xCloud that is like one of the worst kept secrets. And it pushed Microsoft to even put out a statement on it, so it's out there that thing is coming, and that they're using Azure and they're using technologies that they acquired with Beam to make that happen. So do other companies have that headroom? Only they know. I don't think. What were we gonna say, Tim?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I just
Okay.
think that like you said, what's the headroom? That's the big question. It's like Epic is growing, so I mean, and if they're gonna hold, I guess you can rent the servers too. I mean, to handle the streaming and all that stuff. But yeah. It's all about where they're gonna go. Looks like Microsoft is going in that direction. Like I said, hopefully we get some more information in 2019. One thing I hate about Microsoft is that they'll announce something like a cloud, but then you can't ask any more questions about it. You can't get specifics about it. Like they'll put out a video, and like nobody still knows it's going to be a process of be a part of Xbox Live. They just do that, and I think that messaging on their part sucks. I was going to complain about that the other day, but on Twitter, but they just they dabble things in front of you, and then you're like, what the hell's going to go on? Like people make these elaborate, crazy, predictions of what's going to happen. It's really not, it's just because they just leave it out there. But like you said, it's all about the headroom and where they could take it if they want to go there.
Yeah.
I think Steam would have the biggest problem out of all of them because I think they're more archaic. They're built on older infrastructure. I mean, that's what I believe in. I guess you could say. I don't have any proof of that, but I think this would be an opportunity, though, for Microsoft to see that ahead of time, checkbook to Steam, buy them out, move them onto the xCloud service as well, and make that the new Windows Store.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it sounded like I wonder how many of these ideas are actually floating around the round table somewhere, at some of these companies. Like, is this on their radar? Are they even thinking about this? Do they identify things as bigger priorities? You know what I mean? I think that what we're talking about here is a huge priority going into the future. And, I've always wondered this, Jen, like, especially being a huge Microsoft fan that I am, and going to these conferences and seeing, the discussions that are going on and seeing the way that Microsoft specifically is presenting, their strategy about games and, no power greater than X and, plays best on X and stuff. Like, we got the announcement of the xCloud, we got the leaks and stuff like that. But are these kinds of conversations happening within those closed doors to the point where like there's action gonna happen, or are we like living in a fantasy here talking about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this has been talked about for a long time. I just, from what I heard is that, and this is not even from somebody. This is not from somebody from Microsoft, but somebody who was kind of in the know that Microsoft, when Google came out with that thing, when they came out of nowhere, that Microsoft pushed for a response with xCloud, and they just basically threw something together and said, here's xCloud, and that's why the messaging, in my opinion, is off, because they didn't explain it. But it looks like when they fully come out, I think it's going to be real cool. But the conversations, like you talk at the roundtable, yeah, it should be fascinating stuff. I mean, I heard that the EA thing was actually real. Like, that was not a stupid rumor. Like, that was actually discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the type of things that probably go on at the roundtable. Now, I'm for sure happier that they didn't get EA and they went the route that they're going now, because in my opinion, if they got EA, it would have just been a shit show for them, because they couldn't keep Madden and all these the other platforms, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. And you can't do what they did with Minecraft either, like withholding certain features or keeping the builds behind on other platforms or anything like that. For games that have established established heritages, established traditions and stuff like that, like people expect Madden every year to be the same in all the platforms. You couldn't necessarily do that.
No, yeah, that would be shitty. That would just that, and how do you really, exclusivity matters. I think if we learned anything in 2 years, and Xbox getting this holiday getting destroyed, even though they did pretty good, but they got pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
Exclusive sell and exclusive matters. Single player matters. You just can't you can't try to fit a narrative that's not true and expect it to fly. You know what I mean? Like, if your narrative is not true, it's not going to work. And I think Microsoft figured that out. Like, they got to get the games. They got to get something to the exclusive to say, hey, this is what makes me a loyal Xbox fan. As they said on their promotion, whatever they did for what their plans are for the games. Like, people will align themselves with a device, I don't care, as silly as that sounds, because they had enjoyment and memories on a certain console. And games like God of War do that, and Spider-Man do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, if you're in a competitive world, it's not, hey, we're all gamers and last place is great. You got to try to make a move for your own shit. You know what I mean? You get your own. Other people can have their stuff, and when they have that, people will gravitate to it.
Yeah. And that kind of brings it back kind of full circle to where we started here with Epic, because, even if you take away the consideration about, the money share, you take away the consideration about the sharing of the cross-platform stuff and whatever, Epic has a huge draw to their platform every single day by millions of PC gamers, and it's Fortnite. You have to go to the Epic's game store or the Epic platform, the Epic launcher, to use Fortnite. And I think companies probably value the fact that, because that is an exclusive and they can put their game, their little ad maybe next to that on the store or whatever, and it gets more mind share, it gets more exposure. It's kind of related to what you were saying, but at the same time, it's a little bit different. But mind share is everything, and exclusivity, brings the eyes and brings the attention, and I think Microsoft is moving in the right direction, with the acquisition of the studios that they've had recently. But they gotta work a little bit harder here, and obviously, people are more willing to buy a weaker console that's bundled with a great exclusive, up for Game of the Year, than they are to buy, the most powerful console out there for 20% off. So that says that speaks wonders in my opinion. But anyway, all right, we got to move on, because we're going kind of long here on the podcast, which I kind of figured, having Tim on the show. I know Tim has a lot of great thoughts and everything.
I'm long-winded sometimes, but I to be honest, it's fun. It's always fun talking to you guys.
It's valuable, man. It's not nonsense, dude. Whenever you bring it, and it's good content. It's not, it's not long-winded, because it's all relevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so yeah, I just think that it's good on like your type of show where I feel comfortable and well,
Yeah.
not that I'm not comfortable, but it's just we've played games together and we've known each other for a long time. I've played with Clowns and Downer. We were playing Sea of Thieves, and we chat just like this. This is
Yeah,
the way
yeah.
we talk. It's really just and I like the structure of your show. I think that I like shows that just structured and you do a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to bring this up real quick. When we did play Sea of Thieves, it was funny because Tim's like, "Oh, I see somebody. I'm gonna load a cannonball." Darren's like, "No, no, Tim, no, wait." And Tim's like, "Oh, Lynn starts firing cannonballs on people." It was great, man. Darren's like, "Oh, Tim, what'd you get us into?"
Yeah,
Dude,
well, the Downer blames me because he's the riding the ship, and he just jumps off and doesn't even tell anybody that he jumped off, and our boat went into like wherever the fire is. we just all died. Yeah, that was a fun for Sea of Thieves. I mean, that game, it's so hated on, but I've had so many fun experiences on that game, and I heard the new update's excellent too.
yeah, yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Makes me want to go back and check it out. Definitely. Because I've been itching for a game like that. What was that game that you were talking about earlier, Tim? I can't remember the name of it now, but like the Sea of Thieves on steroids.
Atlas.
Atlas. There it is. Yeah,
Atlas.
yeah, dude, that looks so good. That made me. I mean, obviously that's way more complex than Sea of Thieves, but that made me want to go back and check out Sea of Thieves again. Um,
Yeah,
so
that Atlas game is really. I'm really intrigued about that game. I mean, it's the guys from Ark, so it's the same dev. The name escapes me, but it's pretty much the same deal, but they're just like they're going at big time. Like their world is much bigger than Ark's was. They're connecting it. Um, from what that guy was saying, and sometimes maybe it was there, and they're not really like that. Sometimes dev can over embellish,
mhm.
but he was saying some crazy things like what they're planning with that game. And Ark is one of those games that it's reason what makes me a gamer. It brings me in. When a game can bring you in and make you feel a certain way, that's when in my opinion, that you're truly a gamer.
Yeah,
Um, if it has a profound effect on you, and Ark was one of those games where I felt like it was my world. I was so involved in that world, and so like just I would play that game and 7 hours would go by, and I literally was that taken in, and I'm hoping that Atlas is that, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of my most anticipated games of 2019.
yeah, and that game is coming to PC. I think it's already on PC early access, but that is coming to Xbox. So
Yeah,
you guys can expect that, and who knows what that'll do to Sea of Thieves? Who knows where Sea of Thieves will be in terms of content at that point when it does eventually come out? But um, we shall see. We shall definitely see. All right, let's move on. We're gonna actually make this the last topic because we're running kind of late and dinner is approaching the table in my household. Um, so let's get into this and make this the last topic. Sorry for people who came specifically to hear about the Street Fighter ads, but we're gonna skip that and we're gonna go right into the news from Nintendo. Speaking of a company that knows how to do exclusives pretty well. You now can stream them and make content about those exclusives freely because Nintendo is dropping the Nintendo's Creators Program effective essentially immediately. If you're not aware of what that program was, the Creators Program was a program in which you had to essentially run by everything that you made content, whether it's on YouTube, Twitch, whatever you're streaming, whatever you're doing, Let's Plays, all that kind of stuff. You had to run that all by Nintendo and get kind of approved in order to monetize it. And then Nintendo had the rights to, take some of that monetization and claim it for their own. But they, that wasn't very popular. Obviously, people hated that, and they saw streaming numbers go down on some of their, bigger content creators' channels. So now they are redacting this. They're taking back the Creators Program, and effective essentially immediately, you can make all the content you want and, you know, freely monetize it and all that kind of stuff. So people feel like that all the hard work they're putting in is for a good reason. So I want to get Assassin on this really quick, because I know he's about to get a Switch. He hasn't got one yet, but he's itching to get one, and you know he's looking to make some content about some Switch games and stuff like that. So what do you think about this smart move by Nintendo? Is this going to open the floodgates and a lot of people are going to feel free to stream again, or you think people are kind of just doing this, you know, on the down low already, or what are your thoughts on this, man?
I mean, it's the best thing Nintendo has done probably in a very long time. There are YouTubers that were already doing these things. Oh, I forget what his YouTube name is.
You gonna out him right now? Is that what you?
He just does. Like, I mean, he has a bunch of views on his videos. Like,
who's to know that he's not part of the program, though? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I get that, but I'm just saying, like, when you don't really see many Nintendo like videos, at least, and now to have a bunch of people who can now do this because Nintendo won't be so strict, it's nice, and I hope like some of the people I do watch will, you know, start doing Nintendo things, because I think these people have, you know, they'll stream with friends or whatnot, and they're interesting to watch. And now with this, I hope they do. I doubt they will, because of what they do, but you know, see those YouTubers come in and do Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. Because I think a lot of people were really dissuaded from this. I think this was really a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and they were afraid, you know, because Nintendo has been known to come after small people, small guys, you know, like us, you know. They've been known to protect their IP, to protect their quote unquote rights, right? I mean, look at what they've been doing to the ROMing scene. I mean, they're shutting down sites left and right that have been providing ROMs for emulation because they want to sell NES and SNES classics, you know, things like that. So obviously, you know, the creators program was, you know, essentially a scare tactic, and I think now that it's gone, I think people aren't scared, and people are gonna be willing to put in the money and the hard work and time to make good content, because honestly, like, Nintendo content's been shit lately compared to other companies, because, you know, people don't want to put in hard work, wait ages. Sometimes, you know, I've heard people waiting like a week to get their stuff approved. You know, by then, you know, some games could be like irrelevant, or not irrelevant, but not as popular. And then, you know, you're making less money on top of that because, you know, not only are you delaying your content, but also, you know, Nintendo has this stake on revenue sharing that, you know, wasn't really right. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a I have the wrong slide up. I think it's going to be a good thing for content creators. I think a lot of people are going to finally you know, do this kind of thing and make some good stuff, because you know, no one wants to make things and then be like afraid that they're going to get their content like slapped down with a copyright risk or anything like that, and spend like tons of money on equipment and hours and hours recording the stuff and editing and all that kind of thing, just to have it, you know, just to have it taken away. Indie Gamer in the YouTube chat says Nintendo's thinking was completely backwards, so it's good they've come to their senses. I mean, they have to, because the content was just not there. It wasn't as good. The stuff wasn't quality. People who monetized their channels were afraid, and yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. Clowns, I know you're not one to be necessarily afraid of the corporations or anything like that, but does this
No.
does this decision here encourage you to make some more videos and stuff, or what are your thoughts on this?
I think, you know, to be honest with you, I think it's a good thing, because there's a lot of kids today that just have skipped Nintendo, probably because of all these YouTubers and influencers out there that do like GTA only and stuff like that. So seeing more Nintendo stuff out there, it's good for Nintendo. They need that kind of branding. They need that kind of marketing. It's not too late for them to turn back. I just think they're the biggest piece of crap thing they did recently was the way they handled the ROM sites that they went after for like old archives of games that are no longer relevant. They don't even resell anymore.
Oh
That
yeah.
destroys the history of archival.
Yep.
But what they're doing now is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think that obviously, you know, they've never been more popular, you know, when it comes to, you know, obviously when the Wii came out, that was a huge hit, but because of the novelty of it. And, you know, I think the Switch has the novelty, but it also has the games to back it up to, you know, make people want to actually create content for it. I mean, people are only streaming these days at 720p and 1080p anyway, so it doesn't really have to be, you know, 4K content necessarily for it to be successful or for it to be something that people want to watch. You know, it's not.
It just has to be entertaining. That's what people like to watch. Like, I mean, even though Angry Joe got in trouble for his Wii U Mario Party video, I mean, he he made a ton of views off the way he handled that, and I thought that was pretty funny. That was entertaining.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Tim, I know you're not a huge Nintendo gamer necessarily, but
No, I'm interested in that. You know, they were like notorious for the worst with YouTube. Like you would put a freaking just I heard some of the things that went on, and really unfair in my opinion. The strikes that they've given YouTubers, because they basically talked about something that you know it wasn't debatable that if it was that bad, but they would just go after you. So now that they're opening up a little, I think that's a good thing. I think Nintendo needs to. I think they're doing good, and I just think that they need to kind of. I don't know if it's come to the age or just kind of seem like old fashioned in a way. With that type of stuff, I think they need to open up a little, and I think it would be very good for them because the content creators will take your product and they will, you know, especially what you have, they will make it great. And if you, you know, are open, you're going to see more of those type things happen. And like you said, the content's going to keep getting better and better. If you make people afraid and, you know, look at you as, hey, you know, it's too risky, that's, you know, that's self-defeating. And I think that they realize that. And hopefully this goes a whole other way where they really allow content creators to do what they can do. And, you know, so overall, yeah, I'm not a Nintendo guy, but I do like what they do, and it's just interesting how, like you said, that they kind of reverse their tactic because usually they're very hard, strict line. You know, they don't care.
yeah, I mean, in the YouTube chat, we've got Chief Tommy saying, you know, they're blocking him from sharing Smash gameplay from his Switch. I mean, they have little things in place to not necessarily, you know, not necessarily make it the easiest. And like you said, you're not sure if it's just they're behind the times or what it is. But obviously, you know, they've shown feature wise, you know, social feature wise, they are behind the times on that. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
the revolutionary, you know, the Switch docking it and taking it on the go, how quickly and seamless that is, and how the quality that you can achieve on that little tablet. I mean, obviously, that is revolutionary. But in terms of the social features, I mean, they're way behind. Their online system's a joke. The chat is a joke. Stuff like that, and you know, this is a social age where people want to share their gameplay. People want to do let's plays. Kids are doing let's plays.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you gotta get with the times, and I think that's what this program is going to invite a lot of kids as well.
Yes.
So.
Power's probably going to be very big for them. It could be.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you say, if they get they got the social aspect down. In a way, I remember playing Wii when they had the and you made your Mii. It was like the first thing that you did when you got the Wii. And I thought to myself, wow, you can go online and you can have worlds. And it seemed like it was so natural to Nintendo at that time. Like that was what they were destined for. And it could have been furthest from the truth because they never really made that step. You know, you look at, like you said, some of the social features. What do you got to use? A cell phone? I don't know. The chat is absolutely horrendous. They're they're behind in a lot of that aspects. But if they could get that aspect to where it's working for them, I think that could be very big for them because the people, they have Mario, they have all characters, and they're all huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and obviously, a lot of the announcements and a lot of the advertisements that were at the Game Awards were all about, how many characters were being added to Smash Brothers from all these different games and all these different genres and stuff, and Persona included.
That was cool. Yeah.
That was really cool, and I think that's bringing in a lot of people to kind of want to play on a Switch and want to be a part of, especially Smash Brothers, to play as their favorite character in a game that they never thought they'd see their favorite character or their favorite franchise in. And now that you're doing that, like, you can't have people coming into the Switch and being like, oh, wait, so they're online, you have to do what now with dongles and all this stupid shit? Or, I wanna stream me playing Smash Brothers for a few hours. Oh, wait, I can't do that because I have to get it approved first by Nintendo. Like, all this backward stuff needed to change. And I think, this is just the beginning. And I think, Nintendo is finally coming around, I think.
If they can come around and they could be open about it, you look at the other guys, I think that they're, in a way, that they just kind of were, maybe they're so content conscious, that in a way it kind of like it hurts them in this aspect. Like, maybe they just want to keep it exclusive. I don't know. There probably is a reasoning for why they are the way they have. But at this point, like you said, you have to get to the times. It's critical at this point, especially with stuff like if xCloud is something that could, be as portable as they say it can be. People want to stream their game. It should be with Nintendo. You play the Smash game, and it's seamless. You're on the internet by an app, and you just hit a button, or it should be that simple. Because it is that simple for Sony and Microsoft and PC and the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, can't agree anymore. And I think that for them to stay viable into the next generation, it's time for them to come around. They can't play cute games anymore. It's time to be on the same level at the very least for a lot of these features that are driving the industry now. But okay, with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up because sorry to cut it short on anyone who wanted to get in on that topic, but I'm about to get literally killed by my lady if I don't end this and get to the table for dinner. But Tim, listen, man, we really all appreciate you coming on, and I know it's been way too long. You're like a brother, man, and it's been a pleasure to know you, man, and to be a brother with you on that podcast. And I really honestly, I hope the best for TXR, and if I could have made it work, I would. But I really hope that you guys, when is that coming back? Like January 20th or something like that?
Yeah, January 21st. Who knows? I'm at this point, I'm see where it goes, but I'm happy to be on the show, and definitely come back. We'll come back when we get some serious news too. So hopefully we get some news at the start of January from Xbox. But I'd like to come back here and get the subjects going because I really had a good time. So definitely we'll be back, and we won't go for the long period that it was that I hadn't come to the show. But I appreciate everyone here that had me, and it's you like I said, you're a brother. This is good times, good memories, Absolutely. And it's always a pleasure. You're a tremendous host.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. If you guys want to find Tim Dog, if you're not already following him, I'm sure you are if you're not living under a rock, but you can check out our description. You can find his Twitter there. That's probably the best place to get in touch with him. And below his image there, the entire night has been cycling his Twitter handle and his Xbox handle as well. So you can hit him up on his gamer tag if you want to play some games with him, because he is online playing games quite often. Be it Sea of Thieves, Fallout, whatever, Ark, whatever. he's on there playing. So same thing goes for us. Hit us up. Our names have been cycling below our pictures as well. Below in the ticker, you've been seeing throughout the entire show ways to find us on other platforms: YouTube, Twitch, all that kind of stuff. Just search 4GwQPodcast. You'll find us pretty much everywhere except for Twitter, where for some reason that just would not fit. So we had to go with 4GwQPodcast as our handle. But until next time, until next week, right before Christmas, probably our Christmas episode, we'll see you then. Peace.
Hey guys.